What's good, guys? How's it going? Today I'm bringing you the Cipher pre-release for Honkai Star Rail version 3.3 is what we're in. I know that definitively this time because 3.4 is the one where everything it blows up and there's so many things happening. Anyways, this is a character I've been waiting for quite a while because I love cat girls, and finally we're finally eating good with this one. I do have a lot to say about this character because she is a little bit different from every Amphorius character we've seen so far. So today I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on Cipher and kind of walking you through how she works and where she fits based on my impressions of her, and math of course, so that way you guys can make a decision on if she's someone you want to pull for. This video was recorded on the 3.3 creator experience server, which means that everything in it is subject to change on release. But with that said, my name is Braxophone, you can call me Brax, and let me tell you a little bit about Cipher. Cipher is yet another very fast character. In the showcase today, I'm going to be using the Feixiao team as an example, but just know that Cipher can be fit into other teams. Team we're playing with: Feixiao, Cipher, Aventurine, and Robin. These are all premium 5-star characters, but I did give them accessible light cones for free-to-play players. So cruising in the Stellar Sea, which is the Herda Shop light cone. This one is a 4-star light cone, not on the battle pass. And also, but the battle isn't over, but you can get this one in the shop even as a free-to-play player. Don't you worry. And of course, no Eidolons activated either. One more thing, as usual, there's going to be a zero cycle at the end of the video if you want to watch that. But the showcase we're doing today is meant to be a little bit lower tier gear. And usually I do lower tier characters, but I wanted to showcase Feixiao team today. So, all right, so here we are on the second half of MOC, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the double Aventurine, the enhancement on Cipher. All right, let's get into it. And right off the bat, the follow-up. Dude, I love the follow-up teams. They're so funny. Like, every version of follow-up teams is just so silly. All right, so now that we're here, let me go over what Cipher does. She's actually she has a very funny kit. Essentially, she doesn't really do any damage. I mean, she does a little bit of damage with her follow-up attack, but let's just say, for the sake of your understanding, she doesn't really do any damage. Your teammates do some damage. She steals the damage, and then she dishes out the damage herself. So essentially, her being a thief actually plays into her kit because she's taking a portion of the damage that your team is doing, tallying it up or stealing their damage, and then doing it herself. Now, the good news is that when she steals the damage, she's not actually taking it from you. She's kind of just like duplicating a portion of it. But it is very funny to think of that way, especially when you think of the doubloon cat and how he's just like a little goblin. She's basically the doubloon cat. So the first thing you'll probably want to know is one of her bonus traces. It gives all of the enemies on the field a 40% damage taken increase. And you can actually see that right here, unremovable. Damage received increases by 40%. So this is something that Cipher applies by just being on the field. And as such, she's basically a good general support or sub DPS character in like every single team to some extent. However, that doesn't mean that she's best in slot in every single team. It just means she's playable. I'll talk about her power level a little bit as we get into it here. Essentially, how she works is she's kind of similar to Topaz in that she'll apply an effect to an enemy. This is called Patron, and basically the enemy with the highest maximum HP gets marked with this automatically. And then you can change whoever is marked with Patron by using her skill or her ultimate. After an ally attacks the patron, she will also do a follow-up attack at the patron herself. It works once per Cipher's turn. And then all of the damage dealt to the patron by your allies that is not true damage specifically will go into a little pool. 12% of it will automatically go towards the damage that Cipher will unleash later. That's the damage she's stealing. With one of her major traces, she also gets 8% from the non-patron enemies. So once you have this unlocked, basically she becomes a lot better in AoE. And then her last major trace has to do with her buffing herself. Essentially, if she has 140 or 170 speed or higher, she gains 25 or 50% crit rate, and the amount of damage she records goes up by 50% or 100%. So ideally, you want to get her speed to over 170, so that way she gets 50% crit rate, and she also doubles the amount of recorded damage, so that 12% will turn into 24, and this 8% will turn into 16. Then, when you use Cipher's ultimate, all of that damage that got tallied up will be dealt as true damage in addition to one of her own multipliers. Now, the damage that she does that's not true damage, just like her personal damage, that is lower than the multiplier on her skill. Honestly, her ultimate personal damage is pretty negligible, but the true damage that she does as a part of her ultimate that she tallied up, the damage that she stole, that is a lot. And you can choose to use this whenever is most convenient to you or whenever makes sense for the cycle. It does have one major drawback though, and it requires you to use your brain a little bit. Essentially, the target takes 25% of that true damage, and then the target plus any adjacent targets will take the remaining 75%. So if there's one boss, one side enemy, so there's just 3 enemies in total, you're essentially doing 50% of that true damage to the main target, and 25 and 25 to the adjacent targets. Because of that, her ultimate actually becomes much more valuable in a lot of cases if you save it for when the main boss is the only targetable enemy, because they will typically have much more HP than the adds, and you want to focus all of that damage on them. Holding her ultimate is actually not that big of a deal. You can unleash it on cooldown if you want, but if you want to hold it for an execution towards the end of the boss's HP bar, you can totally do that. As for her skill, she has a base chance to weaken an enemy, which lowers their damage dealt and also increases Cipher's attack by 30% for 2 turns. Because this lasts for 2 turns, you can alternate skill and basic attack and make her SP neutral. And the last thing is that she is a goblin and can just steal things from enemies. Like if you run around with her in her technique, she will just start robbing enemies, and you can do it up to 50 times a day. And I think that's really funny. All right, so here is the patron, as you can see marked there. We're gonna go ahead and use Cipher's skill here. Start skill, basically just rotating this. So here we go. And this is one of my favorite animations. It's so funny. It's so silly for no reason. I'm gonna go ahead and skill with Robin. We're gonna wait until after Aventurine goes to use that. And then Feixiao should proc this on the patron here. So we're gonna go ahead and skill with Feixiao. It should immediately get followed up with Cipher. And then Feixiao again, because, you know, funny, haha. Gonna basic attack with Aventurine, and then I'm going to immediately Robin ult. As you can see, we have 47 of these tokens lined up. You can actually see how much damage you're gonna deal. If you scroll down, you look at Patron, it's 47,000 damage. So if we ult with Cipher, we're doing 47,000 true damage plus whatever she does with her normal multipliers. And then it's also going to hit multiple enemies, so it's gonna be split. So we don't wanna use it just yet. We can technically use it and it's fine, but I'm gonna save it up so we can hit a bigger number, because bigger number is better person. And I'm gonna go ahead and just basic attack here. And Feixiao ult and just beat the ever-living heck out of this guy. Boom, 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 boom. Huge, insane, crazy. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and skill with Feixiao. We just keep adding up more and more damage. And now we can actually Feixiao ult again, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna bust this guy up. Holy, free to play setup. So 227k basic attack on Aventurine. And as you can see, that tally is just still going up. Like it just keeps on adding up over time. She's at 227, which should be around 227,000. Wow, someone took damage through Aventurine's shield. That is so crazy. We just keep getting more and more because they keep attacking. And Cipher is on life support. Oh my goodness. And eventually he just keeps going. This is so funny. Oh my goodness. All right, Cipher is really on life support now. So hopefully nothing horrible goes wrong. I'm reminded of a certain part of Fearless in Honkai Impact 3rd. So 252,000 damage saved up right now. And honestly, I kind of want to get rid of these guys, but I don't want to shift my patron. So hopefully we can just get rid of them. I'm going to go ahead and skill this time. 70k, not bad, not bad. We're going to go ahead and skill once again with Feixiao. Follow up. Boom, follow up, another follow up, and we can knock this guy out. All right, that's huge. Enemies are gonna get deleted. Cipher's still on life support, please. All right, Robin's gonna exit her ultimate here in a second. All right, well, basic attack, go into the next cycle. A bunch of true damage will be dealt. Now there is only one enemy. I'm going to basic attack into Robin ult, so that way we get the free skill point back. And now, this guy's basically dead. We have all of this saved up, so now we can blow it if we want to. I'm gonna do that just to show you guys what this looks like. It should be about 376,000 damage that we've saved up in true damage, plus whatever her multiplier adds on top of that, and it's all gonna be on this one target. There you go. And now she's the balloon cat. 423k total. Oh my gosh. She's funny. She's like an executioner. She just kind of executes enemies. I'm gonna go ahead and skill with her once again, because it's more damage. Skill with Feixiao. Another follow-up attack. Aventurine follow-up. Another follow-up from Feixiao. And I do want to end it before this cycle. So what I'm going to do is get the energy on her. But first we're going to go ahead and basic attack with Aventurine. And now this guy's going to get really mad. I'm going to basic attack and go to Feixiao immediately. So that way I can get the skill points. And there we go. That should basically wipe out that entire wave. Not ideal for clear time, but it is what it is. Free to play light cone setup. Be like that sometimes. All right, so we'll go ahead and skill on Hule. Just adding up that damage. Now it's Feixiao's turn. Skill, follow up, follow up, follow up. We almost have our ult again, which is super nice. Now Cipher's gonna basic attack next. I'm gonna actually just skill on Aventurine to stay safe here because I am worried about our well-being. We are going to follow up attack, which is going to add even more shield. I'm also going to start fighting this guy for the winning spot. Now we've got 8 on Hule. I'm gonna immediately Feixiao ult. Boom, 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 boom. Insane. We're 5-3. This guy's gonna keep attacking us. We could basically just toss this if he was about to. Well, I tried to do it early enough, but I messed it up. But once that gets to like 7, if you just want to try and stall one more turn, you can totally do that. So in this case, about roughly 37.5% of the 75% split should be going to either one of those. So 37.5 plus 25. So it should be about 62.5% of the true damage will be going to Hule, and then the rest will be going to the ad. So this is not ideal, but I was trying to save it before Hule did his thing. It is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and do this. 350k damage, pretty big. Thank you, Aventurine. I tried doing this with Linkshaw earlier, and it was just not. It was not as great. I guess is what I'll say about that. I'm gonna basic attack with Robin, go right into her ultimate, so we can just get right back into it with all of our buffs. She has her 2-turn attack buff, so we can basic attack here. Now we can skill it with Feixiao. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Boom, boom, boom. Explosive damage, basic attack with Aventurine. He's gonna take true damage because of the MOC. It is what it is. Aventurine's gonna go ahead and rain down more money or more poker chips. I mean, it's basically money if you're winning. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop even more follow-ups, silly follow-up game. Now we go ahead and Feixiao. We're gonna ult and just like, anyways, I started blasting. Punch this guy really, really hard. Skill, and now we skill again. We're gonna go ahead and basic attack here. Feixiao follow up, Aventurine follow up. This guy's almost done with one phase, and it's taken us quite a while, but we are safe. Thank you, Aventurine. I'm gonna go ahead and skill, and we actually almost have Robin ult again. So basic attack here, and Hule's gonna go into his really, really annoying form. So I'm gonna just immediately Robin ult because this guy annoys me. And I think it would be really funny to just action forward and not let him attack again. So we're gonna do that. Follow-up attack, gonna go into next phase. And yeah, just a very simple character. Basically, you don't even have to worry about trying to apply your debuff. The only thing you have to worry about with Cipher is keeping up that attack buff, which should be right down here. Hey, jackpot for the taking. And then other than that, you can kind of just save this until it's convenient for you. Yes, you are losing out on a little bit of multiplier damage. So technically speaking, there could be instances where you would want to just do this on cooldown, and it might get you just a little bit more damage that you would need to clear in a certain amount of cycles. But typically saving it for an execution on one unit, I find to be a little bit more consistent. So we're gonna do this, get some more shield layers. Wow, would you look at all that damage? Feixiao's gonna punch this guy. Huge. Basic attack. All right, and now Cipher, we're gonna go ahead because we only have 1 turn left on the attack buff. We're gonna skill. 52k. Bro is big mad right now. I don't even know. I don't even know why. I don't feel like I did anything to him. Basic attack and skill. It should be follow up, follow up, follow up once again. And then he's gonna get really, really mad. All right, now it is time. We've already got 6-2. I'm gonna actually, since he doesn't have an ally, I'm going to use Cipher's ultimate as well. But we're gonna start off with Feixiao. Boom, 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 boom. What a, dude, Feixiao is so sick. All right, now it's time for Cipher. We should unload like a pretty ridiculously high amount of damage, 544k in true damage. He's fighting us back. We just gotta delay him so he doesn't go too sicko mode. That's 3. Oh no, he's going sicko mode. It's over. It's so over. We have the strongest shields in the game though, so we're chilling. And we did just pass the 4 cycle mark, but that is totally okay. We're gonna basic attack, and then we're gonna Robin ult, and we should be able to finish it up right now. So 4 cycles on Hule, honestly, not the best in the world, but it is what it is. We could definitely do better. I think these builds aren't like the most optimized, but also this guy does have a ridiculous amount of HP, and we are playing follow-up attackers during Amphorius, so keep that in mind. But just as a general reminder, if you guys want to see more swipey 0 cycle showcase, that's going to be at the end of the video. So if you've been watching the other Amphorius showcases, that's like the longest it's taken to clear in quite a few videos, in quite a few character releases. And there's some reasons for that. I mean, okay, you look at this team and you're like, oh, this is a premium team. It should not be doing that bad. But there's a couple things to keep in mind, which I already mentioned, the HP stuff. But in addition to that, you also need to be made aware of Cipher's shortcomings. And also, in addition to the shortcomings I'm going to go over with you, there are many teams you can play Cipher in, and some of them may get different results, drastically different results, depending on the level of investment and what the characters actually are. I will go over the teams in just a little bit. So the first thing that I want to talk about is her light cone situation. You may or may not be aware that a lot of the Amphorius characters gain a lot of benefit from their light cones, and she is no different. In fact, Cipher's signature light cone is pretty dang universally good on like a ridiculous amount of Nihility characters. It's because it's an 18% speed buff, which is pretty crazy. And oh, I just realized I'm over here. Let me move down here. So 18% speed buff and then 120% base chance to inflict bamboozle, which is a 16% defense shred. On top of that, there's also an 8% defense shred. So essentially you're just getting a lot of defense shred, similar to like what you get with Resolution Shines with Pearls of Sweat. But you're also, in addition to that, first off, you have a higher base chance. And then second off, you have the speed increase and you have the much higher stats, like much higher stats. After that, Incessant Rain is pretty dang good just because damage and more vulnerability. And then if you are using a 4-star, I recommend Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. Same thing you're going to want to give to Pela. This thing is just too goated. But if you can, you do really want that speed, so that way you can get even more follow-up attacks and just more damage overall. It makes it much easier to build the character in general. Now, as for Relics, I was running her with Lushaka to buff Feixiao, and I was also running her with the 4-piece Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters. This is just, you know, more crit rate based on debuffs and a damage increase against enemies that are debuffed. This set is what I would consider the go-to, but you can also use the Quantum set, of course, because she is a Quantum character. I'm looking for it. Genius of Brilliant Stars. You can totally use this one. This one is totally fine. Here are the stats that I was running. We're running the crit damage body, the speed boots, quantum damage orb, and the attack rope. And as for effect hit rate, I recommend not really going over 40%. Like, you don't need to go over 40%. You'll basically be fine with just that. I'm at 41. It's not the end of the world, but you want to kind of hang around 40% if you can, or get close to that, just to be really consistent with your debuffs. Now let's talk about her teams for a bit. Dude, she is so fine. Oh my God. So we were using the Feixiao team, but you have lots of options. You don't even have to necessarily use Robin. You could totally use like Tribi if you wanted to, and that would totally be fine. But I was just using this old Feixiao team because, you know, it's fun to bring back some of the classics. And by classics, I mean characters that came out less than a year ago. Time really flies when you're reading story for 10 hours at a time. This team is great for Cipher. You could just replace Topaz. So if you didn't have Topaz, if you never pulled for her, or if you don't want to play Topaz, you can play Cipher here. That's totally fine. But that's not the only place you can play her, actually. Like I mentioned before, Cipher does have a general vulnerability she can apply, and she just takes damage. She steals the damage from whoever is dishing it out. So because of that, she can technically work in basically every single team. Now you can play her with a Caster's team, and this is going to be the team that I'm going to be showcasing the 0 cycle with. She's actually surprisingly good here, but also that's partially just due to Caster's doing so much damage all at once. So keep that in mind, but this is an example of you really can't just play her anywhere. And Tribi's going to give value to both Cipher and Caster's in this team, which is nice. And then the big question, but what if it won't? Cipher does not replace Jiaoshu if you're trying to look for best in slot for ACHERON, at least not at E0. Jiaoshu's consistency of applying debuffs and the amount of debuffs he applies, it's just too strong. Cipher applies vulnerability to enemies just by them existing, but that's not a reoccurring buff. That's just a consistent buff that's basically always there as long as Cipher's on the field. She can apply the attack down debuff to enemies with her her skill, which is super nice. However, it's not going to be an absolute game changer like Jiaoshu. But if you want to play her instead of Pela or instead of Silverwolf, you can totally do that too. She does work with ACHERON. Jiaoshu's still best in slot, but you're still, listen, if you don't want to pull for Jiaoshu and you want to play ACHERON, you can just replace Jiaoshu with Cipher. It's not going to be as good, but you can do it, and you'll probably still clear in a reasonable amount of time. I'll probably go into more details on this in my guide video, but I'm going to give another shout out to an oldie, a classic, Dr. Ratio here. This guy can play with Cipher pretty dang well, actually, because she gives the 1 debuff by default, and then she can consistently apply another one with the attack down. So that's 2 debuffs you get from Cipher alone, which is pretty good. And then if you have her signature leg cone or resolution shines, that's a 3rd debuff you can get from her. So that's up to 3 debuffs from Cipher. Oh, and also Patron as well. So, and then of course, Aventurine Robin is just like the go-to. That's a good combo for this guy. Now, comparing her to Silverwolf and Jiaoshu, Silverwolf is getting bumped here soon, and I could see her outperforming Cipher if they buff her in the way that I think they will. I've been saying this since they announced buffs, that Silverwolf just needs AoE, and she needs to consistently apply the element of like the leftmost teammate, because they already have that mechanic in the game. Lushaka is already coded into the game where it buffs the leftmost teammate. Take that same logic, apply it to Silverwolf, and it's totally fine. Right? So if she does all of that, it's possible that she ends up being more beneficial for certain teams than Cipher would be. And as for Jiaoshu, with ACHERON specifically, Jiaoshu is better, but in some teams, depending on which team it is, Cipher sees a little bit more value, so keep that in mind. So by now, if you haven't noticed, the tone of this video is a little bit different because every character in Amphorius has been super Omega broken, and Cipher is the first one that does not feel super Omega broken. Yet. I mean, she could be super Omega broken, but like at the moment, she doesn't feel like super Omega broken crazy. I'm a little sad about it because she was a character I was really looking forward to. And of course, I would love if all of my favorites were broken and then they only balanced the characters that I wasn't interested in. So that way I could just profit and have all the broken characters. I feel like my very selfish reasoning is justified by the goonability of this character. But yeah, the TLDR is she just is not like that crazy compared to the other characters we had come before us. And I think the community kind of has this expectation that every new character is going to be insane. And then any character that's not insane, they basically just doom to hell and say, okay, don't pull for this character because they're terrible because they didn't power creep the last character. So you guys do need to know she's not really a bad character. She just doesn't really like, you know, blow up the ocean when it comes to just doing new things and like absolutely crushing all the content. In my opinion, Cipher, unfortunately, is a bit of a low spender or whale character. I don't think that you have to go 1 to 2 Eidolons to be a whale, but I do think that this is a character that definitely caters towards people that want to swipe for copies. Her value gets significantly better with copies on a different level from other characters. So I guess let me show you why. Don't get too excited with our E1. 150% of the original recorded damage doesn't mean 2.5 times, it means 1.5 times. Some people get that confused. It's not plus 150%, it is 150% of. So keep that in mind, but it is a pretty big buff because it's going to increase the amount of damage that she stores, that she steals, and then she spits back out. On top of that, she also gets a massive 80% attack buff for 2 turns whenever she uses a follow-up attack. So this is basically 100% uptime on top of the 30% attack she's already getting. So 110% attack buff. That's a lot. Now, Cypher's personal damage is not super crazy, but to put it into perspective for you, that's about a 46% damage increase in total. So she becomes 146% of what she was before, which is ridiculous. Her E2 isn't as strong as her E1, but it is still quite strong. Whenever you hit an enemy target, it's 120% base chance to cause them to take 30% more damage. This is just another vulnerability she can add. And at E2, because she can actually add this consistently, she does become better than Jiaoshu. It will. At this point, here it will. This puts her at about 177% of her original value. This is ultimate and basic attack level up. This is like 2% more. It's not that crazy. Her E4 though is surprisingly very strong. Usually E4 is like a pretty big jump, but it's not like insane. Usually they go E1, E2 are like crazy, then E4 is like all right, and then E6 is crazy. But with E4, it makes it so that after the patron is attacked by anyone, the Cipher does extra damage to it. So basically every time that enemy is attacked, extra Cipher damage. This can be up to 250% of Cipher's original damage. So over double Cipher's power, it's like, this is 2.5 times. Pretty crazy buff. Now this is skill and talent level up. That's gonna be just a decent amount. And then E6, if you're an absolute crazy person, this increases the damage dealt by Cipher's follow-up attacks by 350%. On top of that, you now also get an extra 16% of non-overflow damage dealt from these follow-up attacks. And then after she would normally reset the amount of damage she stored, you actually get to keep 20% of it. So if for some reason you're in a long drawn out fight, she just spits out an ungodly amount of damage. Oh, at this point, by the way, you want to spam her ultimate basically on cooldown. But to give you guys perspective, a lot of characters, you look at E6 and they're like 250% of their base power or something similar to that. That's like a higher end thing. Most characters are around 200%. This E6 is like 380% of her base power, which is like another 50% team damage. So like, I need you guys to know, this is like the most blatant whale character thing I've ever seen. So I don't know, man. Personally, I'm a little bummed because I was hoping she would just be like a destructive force of nature out of the box, but she is quite like, okay, she's not terrible. She does the job. You'll clear MOC with her fine. It'll be whatever. But I'm sad because, you know, I would love to see this cat doing millions of damage on cooldown. I think that would be really funny because she's just such a little gremlin. I love her so much. But anyways, you're probably wondering if you would want to get her light cone or her eidolons. I'll probably go into more detail on that on my guide video. But the one thing to know about her light cone is that Cipher's light cone is best in slot for Jiao Shou, Silver Wolf, and Pela, and it's second best on Kafka, Black Swan, and ACHERON. It's a very powerful light cone, and it's universally good. So if you are in need of a Nihility light cone to, you know, spread around like STDs, you can go ahead and grab that one and use it on basically anyone. Her E1 is pretty dang crazy though. I think if you really like the character and you want to swipe for her, this E1 is like a good stopping point. But if you're gonna mega whale, please let me play on your account actually. Anyways, guys, my honest opinion is the Cipher. Again, I think she's kind of a whale character. I think she's a character that was specifically made for people who are gonna spend money. And I think the reason they did that is because she's hot and they know that she's hot and they know people are gonna swipe for her. I mean, it is what it is, guys. I don't think she's like a bad pull. I wouldn't say at the moment that she's a meta pickup, but I would say that she is good enough to get the job done. Just probably not someone I would recommend if you're just looking for the strongest characters to pick up at the moment. But waifu over meta anyways, you guys already know the deal. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and play the showcase for you guys now, and I'll catch you next time.